Okay, so today's topic, there's a very intriguing trade proposal, and I must tell you guys this is speculation. This is not factual, but the word around the street is, particularly in these NBA streets, that there's a trade where the New York Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers, the New York Knicks are going to give up Kemba Walker and Julius Randle and some other pieces. And the Lakers are going to give the Knicks KCP and Russell Westbrook their second round pick in 2023. And I believe their one and only first round pick that they still have. And I believe that pick is in 2025. So essentially, the Lakers have just given up on their future. They will not have any type of draft pick that they can utilize in their farm system in the near future or use for leverage for future trades when you're talking about rebuilding. LeBron's got one more year on his deal, and I forgot how many years Anthony Davis has, but it's a short-term contract. Anthony Davis will still be somewhat in his prime where he can renegotiate for another contract either for the Lakers. But with all the speculation, a lot of people think by that time, LeBron is done playing in the NBA, and the Lakers are not going to have any type of picks to build around Anthony Davis. So why would, unless Anthony Davis love La La Land and love Los Angeles, that's a possibility down the road. But he might play out his contract, or an exit strategy where he has years remaining where he's demanding a trade and they have to trade him. And then now the Lakers don't have anything until 2025. Okay. But a lot of people are not talking about the Lakers' future because everyone's talking about now about the Los Angeles Lakers. And that's what everyone is concerned and care about, even Laker fans. But let's digress into this trade, this proposal, this rumor. And I would first like to state about this trade. The Los Angeles Lakers had Julius Randle. They already had him. They had to let him go in free agency so they can have enough money in the salary cap freed up so they can get LeBron James. Do anyone remember that? This is the same player that the Lakers management, Lakers fans were not too highly keen on Julius Randle. They just let him walk. He bounced around and he found a team with the New York Knicks. His time with New York, particularly last year, they made it to the playoffs. And then this year, everyone's thinking that they're going to, make noise in the playoffs. They might be a contender in the East, okay? Because of the uncertainty of the East, you don't know what Brooklyn is going to come with because now their big three can't stay healthy. The Milwaukee Bucks, they're up and down. The Heat have made surges here and there. And the Bulls were very successful in the early part of the season. There's a question mark with the Bulls now. All right? So this is a perfect opportunity for the Knicks to squeeze in there and be a late round contender, an underdog, so to say, in the East with the pieces that they have. But the New York Knickerbockers just can't get right. They're always in their way. They're an habitual line stepper. Thibodeau is mixing and matching the roster. He's not too fond, not too keen with Kemba Walker. Even though he have shown flashes, but hasn't been consistent. And now Julius Randle with a lot of things he have been saying and a lot of his outbursts, plus his performance. Now the New York Knicks are scratching their heads like, okay, we invested a lot of money in these two guys and we're not getting a proper return. We're not even getting a modest return with just those two players alone. So I can see it from the standpoint if you're a Laker fan going like, well, we're just getting rid of trash for trash. Our trash is Russell Westbrook, and we'll sweeten it with our not only, but immediate draft picks, particularly our first round draft pick. And we're also going to give up a young player that we thought highly of. And in return, we're going to get Kemba Walker, Julius Randle, and some other pieces, and yeah, that'll be fine. From the Lakers standpoint, that would be a decent trade. But for the Knicks, why would the Knicks entertain this? Even though that first round pick in 2025, if you want to speculate, and if you want to speculate down the road, that's going to be a high draft pick for the Lakers. So you could look at it as, okay, we might be rebuilding at that time. And guess what? We'll have a first round draft pick that we can ultimately draft to rebuild. By that time, a lot of things in the organization will be changed. They're going to have a new coach. Thibodeau is not that type of coach that wants to be involved in a rebuild. So, yes, that's your plan B if your plan A is not working. And as of right now, the New York Knicks plan A just doesn't look like it's up to snuff. So, if you're looking at it from the New York Knickerbockers, yeah, this trade, if we do this trade, this is only for the future. This is a rebuild. Nothing that the Lakers are going to give us is going to give us a success for this year, for the here and the now. You're going to be, I feel like Russell Westbrook, I think he owes like another $20 million. I mean, it's 42 this whole entire year. And then you got one more year of 38 or 37, I'm not 100% sure, of Russell Westbrook that the New York Knicks are going to have to swallow and take. Pardon that. Sorry about that if you're squeamish. And if that trade is basically a rebuild. Nothing valuable that the Lakers are giving the Knicks is going to help them this year or the next year as far as being competitive. All right. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, okay, but, Russell Westbrook, he's a superstar. I mean, the man can put up numbers. He's a walking triple-double, okay? He's box office. Yeah, he's all that in a bag of chips, but how does that equate to team winning basketball? It hasn't proven to be very successful. The man has been traded every single year, okay? Every single year. Every single year, the man cannot stay at a location longer than 2 years. It's a one and done, and they trade him and move on. There's always a sucker out there for Russell Westbrook. OKC says, we can do damn by ourselves. Trade him to the Houston Rockets. 1 year with the Houston Rockets with James Harden. We can do that. We can do bad by our damn selves. Exit stage left Russell Westbrook to the Washington Wizards. Then people were talking about, that's a great combination, which I couldn't see the combination in front of me because I thought it was a bad combination and a bad concept of Beal and Russell Westbrook. That didn't work out. Exit stage left. The Wizards says, we can do bad by our damn selves, and there's a sucker born every minute. Hey, the Lakers acquired Russell Westbrook. Now, going by who you believe, everyone thinks Rob Pelinka pulled the trigger on this trade, but there have been reports that Rob Pelinka wanted Buddy Hield, but that's neither here nor there. Or LeBron James, that's his good friend. He wanted another superstar. He still believed the concept of building super teams. That's the new thing to do, which, if you look at the last two championships, a super team did not win that by any stretch of the imagination. But, whoever you want to believe, everyone thinks it's Rob Pelinka's fault. Everyone thinks it's James Brown, LeBron James' fault. Whatever, who you want to give credit for that crap that they're about to dump. If this trade goes through, who's going to take the credit? Is it going to be Rob Pelinka, or is everyone going to say, LeBron James tried and it just did not work out, so LeBron James said, let's trade him? LeBron James pulled the trigger for this trade. I don't think this trade is going to happen because nothing on this trade on paper makes the Knicks better for now and for the near future. Nothing. Now, if you look at it for the Lakers are going to rebuild and start over. I mean, the Knicks are going to rebuild and start over. Then fine. Then yeah, if the Knicks pull the trigger on this trade, they're essentially giving up on this season and the season after that. They're essentially giving up 3 seasons to rebuild. All right? Because you still got Russell Westbrook's contracts on the books for this year, next year. So, you really are not going to be able to move any other pieces as far as contending for the here and the now. This is clearly a trade of you're starting all over again. If this is what the New York Knickerbockers want, and I don't think the New York Knickerbockers want that. I don't think the fan base is going to like that. They're not going to be highly fond of that. There are some fans in the Knicks, in the New York area, that thinks Kemba Walker is a stud and they want to keep Kemba Walker. And there are some fans out there that loves Randle. All right. But I don't think there's not a fan in Madison Square Garden or in the surrounding region that's going to entertain a proposal where they're going to get Russell Westbrook. You're basically saying we're not going anywhere for at least 2 years. At least 2 years. For the Knicks, for the Lakers, this is great for them. They finally found a sucker, because right now they're the suckers holding the bag for Russell Westbrook. They finally found somebody that wants Russell Westbrook. That's what they're going to say. We had to make this trade because we found a sucker. We found a team that is willing to take Russell Westbrook's contract. And I think that's going to be the sticking point. They don't want that contract. Yeah, they're going to get a couple of draft picks. A 2025 first round draft pick is not helping you this year or next year. Just not. Yeah, it's going to be a high number. It's probably going to be in the top 10. Okay? If you look at where the Lakers are projected, they may not even make the playoffs this year. And if you look at their future for next year, it doesn't look too good either. All right? But that 2025 first round draft pick is not helping the Knicks this year or next year. All right? So you just essentially, if you make this trade, you're essentially giving up on the season. You're willing to take Russell Westbrook for this year and next year, because nobody's going to want Russell Westbrook after the season is done and we crown a champion. And in the summer, nobody's going to want Russell Westbrook. And he's going to just retire a New York Knick. His final contract with the New York Knickerbockers, nobody's not going to resign unless he's willing to take a pay cut and unless he wants to come off the bench. And those are two things Russell Westbrook is not going to do. He's got way too much pride, way too much ego to just come off the bench. Even though he can talk a good game, he's really not about that life. He's not going to come off the bench, and he's not going to take a reduced salary. Russell Westbrook wants all of his money because he knows this is the only major contract he's going to get in the near future. No one's is going to be crazy enough to give him another contract like that. So he's not going to take a buyout. He would have took a buyout with the Wizards. He would have took a buyout with the Rockets, the Wizards. He would have took a buyout for the Lakers if he was about that life. He's not going to take a buyout. He's going to play out this contract. And you're going to have another John Wall situation next year where he's just going to be at home, healthy, but the Knicks really don't want him to play, and they just rather just pay him to just stay home. That's basically essentially what's going to happen to Russell Westbrook. But I had to report on this article. I just think this is a bunch of I think it's a bunch of poo. I don't think this is going to materialize. I don't think this is going to happen. The New York Knicks are desperate, but they're not that damn desperate. And the Lakers are going to be stuck with Russell Westbrook. Now, there's some other things the Lakers could do, possibly. They could possibly trade Dwight Howard somewhere and get some pieces for that. Okay? Maybe Bradley Beal, if anyone's in. I mean, Bradley Beal. Why do I say Bradley? Avery Bradley. If somebody may want a piece of that for a couple of picks, maybe a player in return. I don't. It's going to be some modest, mediocre trades that's probably going to help them as far as defense or coming off the bench, but nothing major, nothing that's going to turn their season around because it's done. It is what it is. So, yeah, that's all I got for this topic. Guys, tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys on the next one. Deuces.